Okay, so here we are live once again with another Masters of the Universe Origins Turtles of Grayskull unboxing. And this is Leatherhead, Master of Tracking and Trapping. So, Leatherhead is a character that has a fairly interesting history. He first appeared in the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, not the regular series, but one that was more of like a side series that other creators could come on and do like guest stories on, and it wasn't necessarily supposed to be a series that was in continuity. But this issue did wind up being in continuity because Leatherhead appeared in the series later on, and what might be surprising to people who are only familiar with him from other media, Leatherhead was not a villain in the comic book at all. He was much more of a sympathetic character, kind of like Frankenstein's monster or Bizarro or something like that. So he was a mutant who had been accidentally created by the Utrom aliens, and they basically raised him, and he lived among them, and they named him Leatherhead, which is not the nicest name to call somebody, but that's what they called him. He was an alligator who had been mutated, much like how the turtles and Splinter were mutated from being ordinary animals into humanoid beings. But when they left Earth, they kind of abandoned Leatherhead. I don't know if it was on accident or on purpose, but they kind of left him behind, and he was kind of heartbroken. So he was trying to build a machine to reach out to them, so that be like, hey, you left me behind, come back and get me. But I'm not sure if he was ever successful because I only read the two issues. But in the first one, he wasn't a villain at all. He was a good guy, just kind of misunderstood. And in the second appearance, he did come into conflict with the turtles, even though they left on good terms in the first appearance. And I think maybe that was kind of influenced by the fact that he was a villain, like adaptational villainy, as they call it on the TV Tropes website. He was unambiguously a villain on the 1987 cartoon, the Fred Wolf cartoon. He was definitely a bad guy on that. In the Ninja Turtles Adventures comic published by Archie, it was a little more sort of ambiguous. He was almost kind of more of an anti-hero in that, or at least he wound up becoming an anti-hero. But in both of those versions, he was a human who had been mutated to become more like an alligator. So anyway, and you can tell he's an alligator because he has like more of the squared off, stumpy nose and less of the pointy sort of nose like a crocodile has. That's the difference, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. Nice picture of Leatherhead on the side here. You can see he's wearing his hat that he had with the original Playmates figure back in the 80s. Over here, he's got a helmet. He's got like what looks like a bear trap type weapon. And here on the back, we got a nice piece of artwork. He's wearing that helmet again. It looks, that's definitely supposed to be like his Eternian garb, like a helmet he picked up on Eternia. But it does kind of remind me of an old leather football helmet. It is kind of vaguely in that shape, which I think is funny. And you got Bebop and Rocksteady in the background, who have not been merged together, and they're struggling with He-Man, the evil mutant version of He-Man. We'll talk more about that when I open that figure. You got the Shredder in the background, looking all badass with his battle axe. I can't find what I did with that battle axe the Shredder came with. I bet I probably put it in one of these bins when I was putting toys away and just didn't notice. And the background looks like the Fright Zone back there with the tree and the dungeon and everything. So yeah, pretty cool piece of artwork. And it says the mutated man gator spent his life hunting down the teenage mutant ninja turtles everywhere, from the sewers to the Everglades. Krang and Shredder summoned him to cross dimensions and make sure the turtles don't get in the way of obtaining the power of Grayskull. Excuse me. And it does say here, swap hat for Eternian helmet. I am sorry. That is just bad. Gross. Okay. Sorry. A little phlegmy there. But yeah, and it says snatch enemies in power trap. So this is obviously more influenced by the 1987 cartoon, and I kind of feel like most of the characters in here are more influenced by that late 80s, early 90s era of Ninja Turtles than anything else. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be, even though it doesn't necessarily look like that continuity 100%. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a continuity, at least loosely based on that one, with some other elements to it, like Casey Jones seems a little more like what we would see in later versions. He's a little more like if you saw the movie, what Casey Jones was like in that, or in some of the later animated series. Like I said, to me, that Casey Jones figure it looks a lot like Chris Evans, and Chris Evans was the voice in that animated TMNT movie a while back. So we got a little kind of instruction sheet here. Shows us how to put the tail onto his posterior. It does attach to his butt, and we got the trap weapon. So let's go ahead and take everything out and get a look at this. I do believe this figure is a Walmart exclusive, and I don't know how easy that makes him for some people to find, but my Walmart still has a couple of them left, the one closest to my work. So, but he doesn't seem as common to me as Krang as far as the Walmart exclusives go. Well, Krang seems to me the most comp. So here we got this hat, and it looks very much like almost like a hat like an Australian jungle fighter has, kind of similar to the hat that Jesse Ventura had in Predator. We're going to set that aside. Here's a better look at that trap. It's got a handle on there, so it is a handheld weapon that is a trap that has hinged jaws, so you can snap them on people. And then we have his tail, because what would an alligator man, crocodile man, whatever you want to call him, he's an alligator. What would a gator man be without his tail? So we're going to set that aside for now. And you can see it's in kind of a bluish, greenish plastic. No rubber tabs holding this guy in. Thank you for that. That was nice. And the helmet was attached to the figure, but it started to come off as I pulled the figure out of the package. That's what the helmet looks like. So here is Leatherhead, and he's got this vest, which looks like it's removable, and it's got this furry piece on the back. Like this seems to be the aesthetic of a lot of these characters. They all have this kind of big furry collar on there. And then you can see he mostly has the standard He-Man type trunks, but he's got this little knob on there, almost looks like a Smurf's tail. But of course, that's what his alligator tail is supposed to attach to. So let's go ahead and pop that on. And this is kind of a slightly rubbery plastic. It's not like super rubbery. It's not like the old Whiplash tail or anything. And there we go. That's what he looks like with the tail on. But yeah, you can see it's kind of light, kind of seafoam green, kind of slightly bluish type of plastic. It's not a bad color. Like, I think it's a nice looking color, but it is kind of strange to me that they chose this as a color for Leatherhead, because it's not a color that I normally associate with him. I usually think of him as being like a much darker green. But it's a color that's appealing to my eye, so I'm not going to complain about that. And his legs seem just like really ridiculously stiff, so I'm not going to force them. I was going to try to get him into like some kind of like crouching kind of pose, like Masters figures usually are in anyway. But man, these knees are just like super tight, and I can feel them starting to give. Is like I even tried to move them a little bit. So that's definitely going to be some joints I'm going to want to hit with the hairdryer before I do anything else. So Leatherhead, I do think they made his face a little cutesy looking, like not quite as ferocious as he could have been. But you know, honestly, I kind of do feel like this is a character that, especially if we took the vest off of him. Let's take the vest off of him and see him. So I guess I didn't have that tail on all the way because it came off, but that's okay. We're gonna set this aside. I just can't get over how funny that looks with the little knob on there. But I guess I didn't get it to pop in all the way because it came off when I was doing all that with the vest. But the vest is the thing. The vest and the hat are the things that make him look like an Earth character. You know, those are Earth clothing. I think I got it on there well now. All right, so let's go ahead and if we take the vest off, and we just have his bare chest. And you can see he does have like this sort of not quite scaly, but like this sort of alligator pattern all over him. It's like the kind of pattern that King Hiss had over his. And in fact, it would not surprise me if and the King Hiss is all the way over there now, so I don't want to go get him. But but it would not surprise me if these are parts that are reused from King Hiss on the arms and the legs, and probably not the torso, not definitely not the torso, because the torso of King Hiss is, the snake torso. The armor is actual armor that goes over it, but it does look very similar. That it looks kind of funny the way the tail attaches on, because it overlaps over the rest of the trunks and the belt. And I think they could have done a better job of attaching this tail to him, and probably give it a little more articulation too if they did that. But I probably would have just rather they just attach the tail to the back like they did with Whiplash, and not even worry about the vest. But yeah, without the vest, he looks a lot more like an Eternian character. We can put the Eternian helmet back on him. I do think his head is a little oversized. The helmet doesn't seem to want to stay on him very well at all. But I guess you could take like some double-sided mounting tape and put it in between if you want that to be staying on him a little better. But I'm probably just not going to fool with it. While we've got the helmet off, though, let's go ahead and see if I can get this hat on him. And this is a very Jed Clampett sort of look. And again, that doesn't seem to want to stay on very well. It just kind of sits on top there. It doesn't seem to want to snap on or anything like that. So again, if you want to have this stay on his head, what I'm going to recommend is get some of that 3M Command double-sided mounting tape. That'll help hold that onto his head. But while we got them all taken apart here, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So Leatherhead can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of close from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. He does have a piece of articulation that's not exactly unique to Leatherhead, because we've seen this on other characters, most recently the Masterverse Skeletor. But he does have what appears to be a hinged jaw, and that looks really cool. He looks a bit more intimidating with his jaw open, like he's about to bite your head off. And then maybe it's probably a good thing that his head is so huge, because you can literally fit He-Man's head inside of his mouth. Look at that. So he literally could bite He-Man's head off. All right, so the arms, of course, rotate all the way around at the shoulders, and they move up to the sides about that far. He's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, which bends in about that far, rotates all the way around. He's got very large hands that rotate all the way around at the wrist, and they do have like a horizontal hinge, so they move back and forth. But they are gigantic hands, so it does kind of make it hindered a little bit. And these look to be the same hands that we already saw on the Demogorgon, those kind of larger hands. And actually, I have Vecna here, so I can compare directly to Vecna. And they do appear to be the same, because his left hand is that gigantic hand, and his right hand looks to be a more normal sized hand on Vecna. But yeah, it's the same hand. So where was I? Oh yeah. So he can rotate all around the waist, but be careful that you don't bump into the tail, because you don't want to knock that off. And the tail does kind of swivel back and forth and has a little bit of side to side movement, but not a whole lot. But you can move this tail around and have him, whack the good guys with it. Or if you want to pretend that, it's the more heroic version from the comic, you can have him whack the bad guys with it. Whack. You can have him fight against Trapjaw, because there's only room for one character with a trap jaw in this continuity. Let's go ahead and put the trap in his hand, see what that looks like, since I haven't done that yet. There we go. So there he is with the trap in his hand, and like I said, the jaw opens up pretty far. Like that, I think that's as far as it goes, but that's all the way, and then can close all the way. Leatherhead can kick up about that far. he's got a single joint of articulation at the knee that mine is just like completely frozen up right now. So that thing is not moving. I am definitely going to have to apply some heat from the hairdryer to that. But it does rotate all the way around. I do accept that articulation. And then he's got a boot cut. So the boot rotates all the way around. And these are really nice boots. They're the standard He-Man boots, and I like the coloring of them. It matches up with the coloring of his vest, that kind of orangish brown color, and the same color on his trunks, by the way, and a nice, very neutral sort of grayish tan for the fur trim of the trunks. I think that these boots look really cool. I'm really happy with how they turned out. So let's go ahead and put the vest back on him now that I've gone over all the articulation. And the vest is pretty nice. It's kind of reminiscent of like Kraven the Hunter. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, you know who I'm talking about. If you're somebody who saw the movie Kraven the Hunter, then it's nice to meet you, because I've never met anybody who's seen Kraven the Hunter. So I'm really sorry that you had to endure that. I don't know, man. They keep making all these Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man in them, and it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And I felt really bad for the girls that were in Madam Web, because they seemed to think they were in like an actual MCU movie, and like I think it was Sydney Sweeney who was like, "Oh, I'm honored to be a part of the MCU," and I'm just like, "Oh, honey, you really aren't." Like, I don't want to hurt you, because I love you. Like, in a fan way, not in a creepy way. Maybe a little bit in a creepy way, but harmless. But yeah, and Dakota Johnson, I think she had the same idea. I think she fired her agent after that. So I like Dakota Johnson. She seems like she's got like this really quirky sense of humor. And anytime I see her in interviews, I just think she's like really funny. And I don't think I've ever seen her in a movie that really took advantage of that. So like I kind of feel like she's gonna become a huge star if she can ever get herself into a movie that like really takes advantage of that quirky sense of humor. It's kind of like a Zoe Deschanel kind of thing, like that same sort of thing. Where like once people figured out Zoe Deschanel, then she became a big star. So anyway, going back to Leatherhead. Sorry, if I've said Leatherneck at all in this review, I apologize. I'm really excited about the GI Joe figures I have to open, and one of those is Leatherneck. But I've just got so many of these Masters of the Universe figures to get through. I don't know when I'm ever going to get around to those GI Joe figures. It's kind of stressing me out a little bit. Maybe I'll take a little bit of a break once I get to Splinter, and then I'll do Splinter and the Boys in a whole week, our 4 Ninja Turtles, and that can give me a chance to catch up on some other stuff. But then again, if I do that, I've got so much other stuff to catch up on. What if I don't get around to opening up the Ninja Turtles themselves? Nope, have to do it. Have to power through all these Masters of the Universe figures. That's just how it's going to be. So anyway, Leatherhead is a really cool figure. And I think the one thing that I don't like about this figure is I think they could have done a better job of attaching the tail to the figure, it being just kind of stuck onto his posterior like that. And you can see how it doesn't really it's not even like really flush with his butt. So I think they could have done a better job with that. Other than that, like with my edition of Leatherhead, at least, these, like I said, these knee joints are like just really stuck, super solid, and I can't seem to get them to move. You know what? I thought these were the standard He-Man boots, but now that I really look at them, they might not be. They might be a little taller. I think that these boots are just slightly taller than the regular He-Man boots, just to add some height to them, probably. So that's an interesting choice. Anyway, Leatherhead's a really cool figure, though, despite some of these minor quibbles that I'm having about it, and he's definitely worth picking up. He's not really... He seems like he's a lot bigger than he is. And I think part of that is because, like I said, I think these boots are giving him a little bit extra height, and I think that his head being as massive as it is, and like the big furry piece on his vest, it's giving it the optical illusion of making him appear much larger than he actually is. But I think he's actually closer, a lot closer to the standard size of a Masters of the Universe figure. But they did a really good job of making him seem a lot bigger than he really is, and that's cool. I like the colors and the way the colors all come together. Very eye catching. Definitely pops on the shelf. You definitely notice this guy. Like I said, I am kind of surprised that they went with such a pale color for his skin, because I'm usually used to Leatherneck being a much darker shade of green, but I still think he looks really cool. And he's got that very much that hunter sort of look going on. Like I said, maybe a little bit of Craven influence to him, and it all works together pretty nicely. And this is a great figure that, like, despite the Masters of the Universe elements that this figure has, I think this could probably just work as a Leatherhead figure for regular Ninja Turtles. Like, if you were looking for a good Leatherhead figure for your Ninja Turtles collection, this would probably still work. You could probably overlook the furry boots and the furry trunks. Like, maybe that's something Leatherhead could wear in the regular Ninja Turtles continuity. So I think it works just fine on that level. And again, like, as a Masters of the Universe figure, I think if you take off this vest, which to me that looks kind of more like Earth fashion. I mean, obviously, like, like kind of a weird Earth fashion, but it doesn't seem like the sort of thing they wear on Eternia generally, like a vest like that. So, but even still, like, you could probably just use this as another He-Man character if you wanted to, and that's really the best kind of figures in this line. I think is the ones that even if there wasn't a crossover, seem like they could fit into either one of these continuities. So that's pretty cool. So Leatherhead, definitely worth picking up. I don't have the other two Walmart exclusives that I've seen so far. I do have the King Hiss Foot Soldier on pre-order on the Walmart website, so hopefully I should get that sometime soon. But for now, uh, the only ones I've seen in store, and then there's that merman that's like impossible to find. And if I'd have seen that merman, even when I wasn't really collecting the Turtles figures yet, I definitely would have bought that merman because he's just an awesome looking merman. And I love merman. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode, I'll be opening another one of these Turtles of Grayskull figures, but I haven't really decided which one yet. Let me think. What do I have left? I know I have this guy. I guess I'll do Evil Mutant He-Man. I think that'll be the most convenient one for me to do, and we can go ahead and get that out of the way. That's one that a lot of people have a lot of feelings of, and I was somebody who had a lot of negative feelings about that figure, but I decided to rethink it a little bit, and I think I've come to accept it. And we're going to talk about that figure some more on the next episode, and I'll talk to you about what I like and what I dislike about that figure. And if you want to make sure you don't miss that episode, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Hit that little bell if you want to be warned anytime I'm going live, and leave a comment. Comments are always good. I never get enough comments, so if you leave a comment, let me know what you think about Leatherhead, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And like I said, Leatherhead is a character that has a lot of different variations and a lot of different media, and they all seem to be like very unique to each other, and there's a lot of variation. So what's your favorite version of Leatherneck in the Ninja Turtles media? Do you prefer the more villainous version from the cartoon, which I'm pretty sure this one is based off of anyway? Maybe you like the more sympathetic version that we saw in the Mirage comics, the original version of Leatherhead, or maybe you like the Archie version that's a little somewhere in between. What about versions from other cartoons? Because I'm pretty sure he's been on like every Ninja Turtle cartoon, right? Maybe you like the one from the Nickelodeon, the 2012 cartoon, which is one of my favorite Ninja Turtles cartoons. Or maybe you like the one from like the 2002, the Four Kids, that version of Leatherneck. I think that one was more like the comic book anyway, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I would have seen that episode, if I've seen it at all. But I seem to remember he was on there, and it was more of a like a lot of those episodes, more of a kind of straight adaptation of the Mirage Studios version. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye. And stream.